There was a time when I used to explain myself, not just once, but again and again and again, in every possible way I knew how. I tried to put my thoughts into words. I tried to make my feelings make sense. I tried to say things clearly so they wouldn't be misunderstood. And but somehow it never really reached the way I meant it to. And the strange thing is, when you keep explaining yourself, you start questioning, am I saying it wrong? Am I expecting too much? Or maybe, just maybe, am I just not being understood? And sometimes it felt like it was dismissed. Sometimes it was simply misunderstood. And sometimes it felt like what I was saying became something completely different. And after a point, you get tired. You get really, really tired of explaining your feelings, of explaining yourself. Not because you don't feel anything, not because you don't feel things anymore, but it starts feeling like no matter what you say, it won't really be heard. And that's where it changes. And that's the point where everything changes. Not suddenly, but slowly, very slowly. And one day, you start choosing silence. You start choosing silence over explaining yourself again and again. And it's not because silence feels better, but because it feels easier. And sometimes the silence isn't loud. It's quiet, so quiet that no one else notices it. You can be sitting right next to someone and still feels miles away. You can share the same space, the same room, and even the same bed, and still feel like there is a distance. There is a huge difference and distance no words can cross anymore. And sometimes it's not even about what is said. It's about what isn't. You start noticing small things, how easily conversations happen, but just not with you. How times flows so naturally in other places, but feels heavy and quite limited when it comes to you. And you sit there not asking for anything big, not asking even for explanations, but just presence. And sometimes being there for someone isn't always about big things. It's not always about solving everything or providing everything financially. Sometimes presence is a real comfort. Time, attention, small efforts, emotional safety. Appreciating the little things, noticing the silent efforts, and saying kind words when they are needed. Even genuine compliments, genuine care can stay with someone longer than we realize. But sometimes people aren't asking for perfection. They are just hoping. They're just only hoping to feel valued, feel loved, feel emotionally seen, emotionally safe. And the feeling that someone is truly with you, even in your silence. Because there are moments where a person can give the world everything outside and still feel distant to the person sitting right beside them. And maybe being emotionally present matters more than we realize. I believe the presence is the most important thing in anyone's life. And somehow, even simple things, a little appreciation, a little warmth, a few genuine words start meaning more than people think. Moments that used to feel normal start feeling distant. Silence that once felt comfortable starts feeling so empty, so lonely, and you don't say anything because you have already said enough in ways that didn't land. So instead of asking again, you just sit with it. And slowly you stop expecting what you once thought was normal. You stop mid-sentence. You hold things back. You tell yourself constantly, it's okay, I'm okay, I'm absolutely fine, even when it's not even a 1%. I have had moments where I knew exactly what I was feeling, but I couldn't bring myself to say it anymore. Not because I didn't want to. But because I didn't know if it would matter anymore. There are conversations that stayed unfinished. Words that never came out the way they were meant to. And sometimes those are the ones that stay with you the longest. And I know from the bottom of my heart, this isn't just me. There are so many people who have tried, who have explained, who have repeated themselves, hoping that this time, they're hoping that this time someone, at least someone, would understand. And slowly they stopped trying to. The hardest part isn't staying quiet. The hardest part is starting to believe that maybe your voice was never meant to be heard. But maybe it was never about your voice. Maybe it was about not being in a space where your voice could exist freely. Maybe being heard was never about saying more. Maybe it was about being in a place where you didn't have to explain yourself again and again. And if you have ever felt like this, if you have ever explained yourself and still felt misunderstood, I just want you to know you are not alone in that. And maybe more than anything else, we all just want to feel heard where it matters the most. And maybe you don't have to explain yourself all the time. And this is unheard. And maybe one day this unheard can be a space where stories are shared too.